Alright, so I guess most of you guys heard everybody has a shelter in place, so definitely will be closed next week. But we'll get to see some of these videos of new products and just building stuff and having fun. So we are checking out Armor Komodo's Pigments. So Paul had the good idea of doing the Me Too, because we have these two shades. We have a purple and this rose gold. So we want to see if we can get a pretty cool looking Me Too. So hard part about these is you have to put them on as the paint's drying. It shouldn't be visibly wet, but it should still be tacky. So it's that quick point, especially with like acrylics where they dry pretty quick. So all this is a primer. I use a German gray primer. And this will be also interesting to see how far this stuff goes, because the bottles are pretty small, the containers. We'll see how far we can get. Can we do a whole kit with one? They recommend those silicone brushes to do this with. I didn't have any. Didn't get out to a craft store to grab some. Also, you can actually use those black rubber gloves. I don't know why it has to be those in particular. Maybe they're a little different. But these makeup sponges seem to work pretty well too. You have to protect your work area. Don't blow this stuff or something like a little glitter bomb went off. But this stuff comes out to a pretty... I wouldn't, like, they do have color shifts and stuff like that. I would compare this stuff to metallic. This is not going to give you like a mirror chrome candy coat kind of finish, but they're more like really good metallics that don't have to be particularly sprayed on or anything. So it's definitely something where you have to do your paint one piece at a time. You can't just line up a bunch of pieces and do them all at once. Yeah, but I'm having trouble covering the toes for some reason. I'm wondering if I could put a clear coat on here and fix that problem later. It doesn't have full coverage. But yeah, for most of it, it looks really good. Just a couple spots. I guess the paint was already too dry. So I'm wondering if I can put another coat on later if I like apply a little bit of clear or something like that and build it up. Alright, so messing with this for a while now, I have decided that the sponge is only good for getting it out and not really good for applying it. So as the suggestion goes on a lot of the places I looked on YouTube, they say use those black rubber gloves. I found some, I guess these, what were these things? It's not latex, right?
Makeup, oh yeah, no, the vinyl.
Vinyl gloves seem to work very well too. So we had to bust them out the first aid kit. No gloves for the first aid kit anymore. With the glove, it's much easier to smear it where you want to. What you have to do is when you're all done, come over with a brush and get the excess off. Now the hard part is you have to do this very softly because your primer's not dry yet, so it's pretty easy to peel it. So a little trick we have discovered though is if you nick something, you can come back with a little bit of like gunmetal or something like that and just dab it where it is to give it a fresh spot to collect again. So as you can see, we have some really nice looks. So I think it's gonna come out really cool. All right, be back in a little bit. My final thoughts on the Armor Komodo is a lot of other YouTubers I watch made it sound a lot simpler than it probably is, but done correctly, and I got some tips for you. You get some pretty amazing results. Now, I started out, as you guys saw, with those makeup sponges. These jobbies here. And these were really only good for applying it. I stopped trying to varnish or polish it in with those because they didn't really work that well. And we switched to vinyl gloves. Now, I saw a lot of people recommend the black rubber gloves or latex or whatever they are, those thicker black automotive ones. But didn't have those available, so I went with the vinyl gloves that I did have. It worked much better. Armor Komodo tells you to use silicone brushes, and a lot of the YouTube reviewers say they weren't good at hand paint brushers, so they didn't feel comfortable with it. But I did have one of my customers come in, Robert, who gave me a lot of good tips, and he loves using the brushes. So I will definitely have to get those for the next time I try this. And a really good tip he gave me was that on the first application, the first time you put it on, you prime it. I primed it in black because that's what this color here along the stripe here behind the background of the printed part is actually the colors you're priming in. So if it should be primed in white, the background will be white and the lettering will be a different color. These need to be primed with a dark color. So he says he primes them first, applies the pigment, and it's not going to be a perfect coat the first time. You have little, really small splotchy spots. So what he does is he goes back with a matte finish. And since the matte has a little texture to it, it definitely grips on the second time. You can put just a little bit. You don't have to go as heavy as on the first one. And that gave us way better results on the second time. So great tip. Definitely helped. And then I finished off with the Pledge Floor Care for the polish here. So I think it is definitely a two-coat job, and you get that depth by using a matte coat and then coming over it with another Armor Komodo layer of pigment. And it got a lot simpler that way. So the only thing I really feel like I need to do is try out the silicone brushes. So would I highly recommend this? Not really, because I think a lot of people will get into saying, oh, I don't need the airbrush. I can just do this without an airbrush. And I think it'd be very difficult to do this hand brushing or with spray paint cans because of the control. What I found with the airbrush is I assume that I should do like a normal wet coat of airbrushing and then let it start drying and then applying it. But that didn't work for me. What I ended up doing was dusting the, especially with the black primer, a very light dusting. So I just got coverage, but it wasn't wet at all. And then it went on super smooth after that. So I didn't get all those, like, if you do it wet and you're trying to find that exact moment when it's dry enough to put on, I got clumps where the pigment bunched up in the wet spots. So we actually had to sand some of those down and then redo them. But when you put a nice thin coat down that's pretty dry going on, you can go right on top of it. Because I think it's really, not that it has to be that tacky, but it has to be a little bit ashy, or how like matte has a texture to it. You kind of need that for the pigments to catch. So that worked much better, and I had to figure out like the exact time and everything. I went straight from light coat straight to pigment, no waiting. That worked really well for me, and I pretty much followed that same technique when I did the matte layer as well. So that would be my tip that I learned doing it, and definitely 2 layers is a tip I was told today that worked really well. Big shout out to Rob. So expect to see some more good videos like this coming from us. A couple more product reviews, a whole bunch of building, do some miniatures this week. I'll show you guys how I do my comic book style of Marvel, because I got to paint some of those guys. Probably work on some of my Affinity characters and start doing that kit bash of the Camphor. And I probably will get back into that Broly kit bash I was doing. So plenty of stuff to work on this week. Stores' doors will be closed, but apparently you're allowed to be open for online. So I guess that means if you can get out, you might be able to pick up something. We will keep tuned on that one, but if not, I can still mail stuff to you guys. So I will try to keep the site up. My goal is to get a new shipment in on Tuesday, hopefully. If things are still shipping and my distributor is still open, I will try to get a shipment in. But definitely keep tuned. And I think I mentioned it earlier, we'll be trying to do a lot of clever stuff. So we might even do a private class type of thing, if you want to build with me on a video chat or something like that, keep an eye out for that kind of opportunity too. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Peace.